uses emoji.
Hello and welcome to Emoji Wrap, a podcast about all things emoji. I'm your host, Jeremy Burge, and joining me this month are two people who look after your emojis, Windows users. Here with me today is Judy, Safran-Aasen, and Mike LaJoie, both joining me from Microsoft. Hello, both of you. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Jeremy and everybody.
Hi, good to be here.
So I want to say up the top, both of your jobs involve emoji at Microsoft, but you're kind of here as individual human beings that in the world, that you're not here representing Microsoft as such. We're just here to have a chat about your thoughts on what's going on in the emoji scene. But Judy, could you first of all start by telling me a bit about your job or what you do at Microsoft that has to do with emoji?
Sure. I'm a program manager responsible for many Windows fonts, including emoji, on the Fluent Design team.
And Mike, where do you fit into this?
I am also part of the Fluent Design team. Our group in particular designs and produces all of the iconography as well as emoji.
And for the people who aren't up with all the Microsoft buzzwords, what is, myself included, I have to say, what is the Fluent Design team? What is Fluent Design as opposed to any other design at Microsoft?
Fluent Design is Microsoft's design system for creating adaptive, empathetic, and beautiful user interfaces.
And when we're talking about the Windows emoji design, it's always fun because we have an audio medium here and we're discussing a visual product. But for people who either haven't seen the Windows emoji designs or they have and they can't quite picture it in their heads, they're the ones with the big, thick outline around them. That's, for me, the clearest way to tell at a distance which one they are. And maybe, Mike, is there a reason they have the thick outline around them? What's going on with that? As far as I'm aware, you're the only major vendor, or Microsoft is the only major vendor that does this sort of style of emoji.
Right. Yeah, so there's both a functional as well as a design aesthetic reason for that. The functional is emojis are flat colors. We can't do gradients in the font. So we had to come up with a design system that would work on basically any backgrounds. Back then, a few years ago, we needed to work with the messaging app and all of that. But it also families with the whole iconography language as well. It's built on pure geometry, and it's just kind of an extension or an evolution of that. They
do fit in really well with the Windows UI. I think when you see a browser with them in there, I think that actually they sort of complement the interface quite well, which is quite nice. And I do like what you say about the contrasting, is that some of the more photorealistic sets work quite well, but every now and then you get one that happens to be a sort of a gray looking emoji on a gray background, and then you lose it. Whereas with this thick outline, I guess unless it's a very dark emoji, you're pretty much always going to see it, right?
Right, exactly.
So each month I publish a newsletter that has a bunch of emoji topics, what's been going on that month. We just had World Emoji Day, and that was a couple of weeks ago now. But what I wanted to look at is an announcement that came out from Microsoft not long after World Emoji Day. I think it was about a week ago now. And it was about the new emoji designs coming to Windows. Not just designs, the new emojis coming to Windows. They're the Emoji 11.0 updates that came out. They were sort of approved earlier in the year, and they've got things like the mango, the skateboard, the redheads, the llama. I've already got them here on my Windows install because I'm part of the Insider program, but I don't know if there's a set, is there a public date yet, or that's just sometime this year? Mike or Judy, do you know when these are hitting other users that aren't part of the Insider program?
I don't think that date is publicly available yet, but I would say it's not too far off.
Safe to say it's this year. I'm going to say that. I don't know if you want to say that, but I'm going to say that. That I feel like if it's in beta right now, if it's on the Insider program, I think it'd be a long shot to say it would be 2019. So let's say sometime in the coming weeks or months, users should get these. And looking down the list, other ones, there's superheroes, there's a super villain. Mike, you're sort of the design guy here. How did you come up with this villain? We've got a villain here that's got a green top on. It's got some sort of big glasses on. How do you design a supervillain versus a superhero at emoji sizes?
Bald with a big cape. Um, yeah, especially with the way our people are rendered. We looked at a whole bunch of different ways to treat it, whether have hair, no hair, but we didn't want to go too far away from our normal people. Yeah, we just tried to keep it simple and playful.
There is the man is bald. The woman I see has some hair still. I guess the tricky thing that you come across is maybe if you made the woman supervillain bald as well, then what even makes that the woman one? Maybe these didn't even need to have genders at that sort of scale. I don't know what the... I can see the superheroes. You feel like, yeah, it's kind of fun having the man and the woman superhero. But maybe the evil one could have just been bold and sort of nondescript.
Yeah.
Looking down the rest of the list, we've got a parrot, we have a lobster, we have a swan. Some of these are tricky. The lobster, it's a bit tricky when you got so many limbs and you got this sort of thick outline style there. Is that
right?
Did you debate lopping off some limbs there, or how much do you decide you want to have all the limbs intact versus going for a more sort of simplified style?
Well, we definitely didn't want to lop off any limbs after all the feedback you were getting.
There was a bit of a hoo-ha about the lobster.
Yeah. Yeah, and in particular, we design all of our emoji at 32 by 32 pixels, so that also for line weight consistency and all that. And so yeah, it was tricky trying to squeeze those in there.
Is there anything I've missed looking over this list here? Are there any standout emojis that came out in this particular update that sort of for some reason are notable in your set? I'm looking through this tweet here as well from Jen Gentleman that sort of listed a few. There's a sponge, there's a cupcake. I know there was some weigh-in on the hamburger last year about who's doing which ingredients on the order. Did anybody get a veto rights, Judy? Do you get to decide which flavor the cupcake is?
No, I leave most of the design elements up to Mike and a few of the other folks that help Mike with the projects. I'm more the taskmaster on timing and release. And
so what you're saying is that you, Judy, are making sure that we get the emojis on our devices at the right time, but you are not a dictator for the flavors of the cupcakes. You're not the one deciding which cupcakes should get which flavors. You just want to make sure that we get them on our devices at the right time. Is that about right?
Well, I think I do veto some design choices from time to time, but I trust Mike and his team to, do good job, and I don't try to get involved too much in that.
You can't.
Sometimes we get a little too wild, and Judy reels us back in.
Someone has to, right? Someone has to be there. That I know when we do our sample images at Emojipedia, and these don't get used on any platform, so it's a lot more lenient, really. That if we make a bad sample image, then it's not going to be used day to day, but we still get a lot of feedback about it, and it can be kind of overwhelming when you first get the whole set. That. You're looking at all of them collectively, and maybe there's 70 or 80 or over 100 if you include the genders and the skin tones, but I guess that's what's fun about the fact that you can go back again and again in future releases and sometimes tweak or change them, because maybe as a whole you're pretty happy, but then when you really hone in on one in particular later on, you go, oh, why did we do that? Or can't we improve that one? And Mike, I know that that's what's happened over the last few years. Windows has changed a number of designs and sort of tweak them and improve them, which must be refreshing and nice to be able to do.
Yeah. The April release was we kind of coined that our consistency and coherence release, because there were no new emojis. So we kind of spent our emoji time going through the list, looking at evaluating stuff and making decisions on what we could, revise to make better, but also to be more aligned with the other vendors. And
you took the opportunity. You had the time, because at the time you weren't doing the whole new set like you have done for this update. And there's this sort of relentless yearly schedule where every year there's new emojis that come out and need to be designed, and maybe in the off season you can tweak a few.
Right. Yes, exactly. I mean, we do that anyway, but that was a good opportunity to do a whole bunch.
And speaking of new emojis, and there's always demand for new requests and things that are happening. And Judy, I know that we're looking through this month's newsletter and things that are going on in the world. I got you to pick a topic that you thought was interesting for some reason, and maybe you could tell us what that is.
Yeah, it's there's been a flurry of articles about the white wine emoji proposal in the last week or so. Maybe because there was a website created in support of it by a winery. There's several wineries that are proposing a white wine emoji, and I really don't know if these petitions help move the bar. No pun intended. But it is interesting that the original wine glass emoji is just a wine glass. It doesn't say red or white, and this predates my involvement with emoji. I imagine everybody chose red wine because it just shows up better, renders better than maybe white wine in a glass. But I just think it's interesting how passionate and intense people get about their emoji that they want to lobby for.
The white wine one comes around. I feel like it comes around about every year. It's definitely one that we hear a lot about. Is people maybe it's, I don't want to say a lack of imagination, but because you can see the red wine on the keyboard, it kind of leads your brain down that path of going, well, if there's a red wine, why isn't there a white wine? And maybe it makes you feel stronger about your position than if there was no wine at all. Then maybe you're going to go, oh, I don't know. If there was never any beer or wine, maybe you don't think about it as much. But just seeing that red wine there, I wonder if people sort of classify themselves as a red wine drinker or a white wine drinker, and they suddenly feel left out of the conversation.
Yeah, there are definitely camps of wine drinkers. And now, rosé is quite popular. A few years ago, rosé was not certainly as popular as it is now. It was almost considered kind of the really lower end group of wines, if you will.
Rosé fans, do not write in.
Yeah, please don't. You've redeemed yourself. Rosé is amazing now.
It's cool now, guys. It's fine.
It's cool, but it's the hot thing right now.
Yeah.
There's rosé everything.
Do you care to out yourselves as red wine or white wine drinkers?
I actually don't drink much wine because I'm allergic to sulfites. It's a little thing about me that maybe people don't know. I'm kind of a margarita drinker, so I'm going to be petitioning for that margarita glass.
I mean, yeah, what we've got that cocktail glass there, so that looks pretty nice, hey? But there's always room for more, isn't there?
Well, and that's the thing, Jeremy, we have a budget for how many emoji can be added annually, and that article said that we get about 100 proposals a year, but I think it's higher than that.
I guess it depends. It's one of those things, right? People often ask me that, like they'll sort of say, how many emoji proposals does Unicode see every year? And I'm not the head of Unicode, and there's so many layers that you sort of get. A lot of them might get filtered out before I see them or you see them or anyone that's involved, because maybe they just didn't even pass a minimum bar. So I don't actually know what the tally is for the number of proposals that are good enough to look at, let's say. But I don't know. I think it's interesting with these that on the one hand, I feel philosophically like, should we have every variation of everything? Maybe that's getting a bit much. But on the other hand, sometimes the pragmatic part of me just kind of goes, if people want it that much, then maybe we should have it. What's the harm?
Yeah, I wonder where it stops. And it is like the fastest growing language, emoji. I mean, there's really no other, if I can dare to call it a writing system, which I'll probably get in trouble for, that is growing at this rate.
Right. And it's something
you have to kind of wrangle.
You want to get the best selection out of it, but how do you get everyone in the world to agree on what are the most important 100 new characters to add a year or so? And everyone's not going to be happy no matter what you pick. You either pick the white wine and some people are very happy and others are not, or you bump it off and you go, look, we've already got a wine, isn't that good enough? And
right. If your spouse brings home red wine instead of white wine, you're just going to drink it anyway.
that should be the official response in your opinion. Just it's wine, it's fine, it's good enough.
Yeah.
Mike, you have an article here about I've seen that. I love the title, that it's called "Biologists Are Bugged About the Ant Emoji." What is this all about?
Well, yeah, like Judy said, there's articles all the time about how passionate people are about this emoji or that emoji, and the one that crossed my feed recently was the ants, and how my favorite part of it was the fact that he actually rated them, and gave some very interesting feedback about the designs. In particular, I think ours looked Muppet-like was the reaction.
I'm scrolling down now. I'm trying to find the description of the Windows ant. Do you have it in front of you there?
Yeah.
I'm looking down the page that.
Yeah, the review on the Microsoft one is floppy antenna, pointy Muppet face, oddly posed legs. What is she? She has no waist.
What do you think about that? Is that a fair review of the Microsoft ant emoji?
I would definitely agree with the legs look a little weird. It's definitely one we're going to add to our list of revisions at some point.
To improve. It's an interesting choice of the red. I don't know whether you want to comment on that, but everyone else has a black ant and Microsoft has a red ant. Is there anything going on there that people should know?
To be honest, I can't comment on it because that was a decision before I was kind of the lead of the design.
I'm assuming it's the outline.
It also could be to do with the black outline. You're hardly going to see a black ant on a black outline.
Not the official word, but just a hypothesis here. And yeah, that would make some sense, that if it were purely black with your particular solid style, what would you do? I guess it could be light gray, but that would be
we recently redid the spider, and we have several grays in our palette. That's another thing to kind of understand about our font is we have a limited palette of, I think it's about 75 to 100 colors.
Oh wow!
To choose from.
I didn't realize that. I just pictured that you had all the colors in the world.
No, it's actually based on the Windows 10 accent color palette. It's a derivative of that. That's also why they work very well within the system, as we were talking about earlier.
Yes.
But yeah, we've got a handful of each value of red or green or blue.
Which I guess is generally maybe helpful because it does make them look like part of a set. And one thing I do notice when I look at the Microsoft set, when you kind of stand back from it, it fits together really nicely. And maybe that's one of the reasons.
Yep, for sure.
Yes, I hadn't really considered the spider. Let me have a look at your spider. Maybe I'm looking at an older version here. Let me have a look. Microsoft spider emoji. I guess it's distinct enough. Maybe the outline's going to work quite well. Oh, yeah, I see. You got some little red dots on the back there.
Yeah, see that's the old one. The new one will be in the next update.
Oh, great. What are we going to see on the new one?
It's a little different. We got rid of the red dots.
Okay.
And just changed the shape more than anything.
It is.
That was another one.
Yeah.
That one was another one that had kind of strange legs on it.
You must get all kinds of feedback on your designs. People feel very strongly about it. Sometimes I do find that people get a bit upset about realism, and sometimes you don't want it to be real. You want it to maybe be sort of iconic. Do you have a feeling on that, whether realism's a helpful metric to go by, or where you stand on the realism versus maybe the iconography?
Yeah, well, I mean, our design style lends toward more the iconography, but we also want it to feel as anatomically correct as possible. We redid the bee as well, and the scorpion, the ladybug, and so we'll add the ant to the list of new ones.
You want to be as correct as you can be without ruining the design. Is that fair?
Yes, within the constraints of the design language.
Right. That if you can be correct and look good, you'll do it. But if you can't be correct and look good, does the anatomical accuracy, does that then drop off if it just can't look good at that sort of size?
Yeah, totally.
So I have an article here that I thought it's interesting, the timing with this, that there's an article here, it's on Mashable, and the title is, "Now There's a Space Cat, but it's only available on one OS." And what's interesting is this is the Ninja Cat and the Astro Cat that's been around on Windows for over a year now, and that sort of it's announced like it's a new feature. And I do wonder, I feel like maybe Emojipedia just tweeted, sometimes it tweets out random facts, and I think maybe the timing coincided where it happened to just mention it, and maybe someone took it as that being a new feature. But exactly what are these? What's the deal? What's the deal, Judy, with these cats? Why do we have these extra cats on the Microsoft platforms that we don't have anywhere else?
Well, there's a lot of really in-depth articles about the Ninja Cat and where it came from. It's mostly to support our insiders, just something fun and different for them. We do a lot of swag and various illustrations and things for events, and we just love Ninja Cat. She's going places. She's going to space.
For people that haven't seen Ninja Cat, how do you describe what Ninja Cat looks like to the average person that's listening right now that has no idea what Ninja Cat looks like?
So the distinction for Ninja Cat really is the headband. There are other cat illustrations used throughout Microsoft websites and out-of-box experiences and whatnot, but to identify Ninja Cat as Ninja Cat, she has to, and Ninja Cat is a female. I didn't know that until fairly recently.
Oh, that's good. You've done your research, or you've accidentally found out your research before the show.
Right. Well, we have an employee here at Microsoft named Casey Lemson, and she created Ninja Cat. And there's a few good articles about that for people that really want to dive into that story a little bit more. I don't want to tell her story.
I will find one and link it in the show notes.
Sounds great.
So what has happened here, though, is that this Ninja Cat has found its way into Windows, which honestly are kind of some of the most fun emojis on Windows, because of to approve a new emoji normally through Unicode, it does need to be kind of sensible. Let's say they're not, they're not just approving wacky whatever sort of things. And to have this cat here that's an astronaut in one pose, and then it's riding on top of a dinosaur in another pose, it's pretty fun. It's fun to have it there, except it doesn't work cross-platform. I don't know. Do you wish it did, or is it kind of fun just being a Windows-only feature?
I think it was added before we really thought a whole lot about whether it worked on other systems, which, again, before my involvement with Emoji. But I think it's been great this year that we've sort of had the year of, kind of alignment and cross-platform compatibility, so that, if somebody sends an emoji from one device to another OS's device, you can tell that you're seeing the same thing. It's recognizable.
Right, that seems to have been sort of at least from the outside, it seems like that's been a bit of a focus this year, Mike, when you mentioned before about getting a chance to tweak some emojis. It's not just the animals, it's also particularly the faces sometimes, that if they convey a different emotion, it's pretty much problematic, right? And at some stage you need to pick, do you like your design better, or would you prefer go with a design that looks more like what other platforms are using to sort of make sure the message doesn't get lost? And I guess that's something that needs to always be up for review. Do you have to sort of check in every now and then just to make sure that your faces are conveying what everybody else is doing? Because obviously the other platforms, they change as well.
Yeah, we look at stuff all the time. I'm always interested in what the other folks are doing, and I love that they're on Twitter and talking about stuff as well.
We get a lot of feedback through various channels. We're always looking for some place where they're symbols and they're easy to misconstrue and they're easy to misunderstand and you send someone a face that looks like something else, you can have a really bad evening at home. Your spouse thinks you sent
yes, some of these can really, if you I know some of them, if you think you're sending something kind of happy and it looks kind of grumpy at the other end, you're really not in for a good time, are you?
Yeah, and at typical emoji sizes, some of the faces can be difficult to distinguish.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that's been a common complaint on some platforms over the years about the laughing crying and the crying. That I noticed the Windows ones are quite exaggerated in particular, maybe just to make sure that there is no confusion, that you're not actually laughing at someone's sadness.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah, the previous set, we did a lot of work on the mouths of the smileys to try and get them a little more aligned, but also more distinct, separating the teeth. Some of the early feedback on them was that it looked like a milk mustache, and so we wanted to address that.
Yeah, I can see. I'm looking at some of the older designs now. I can see how, when they're blown up real big, you can kind of see what's going on. But you're right, when you do scale it down and you sort of see this white line on top of someone's mouth, you're right, it does look like a milk mustache.
Yeah, exactly.
One thing I like about the Windows emoji set that maybe doesn't get a whole bunch of press, it comes around every now and then, is the fact that you can support all the different family combinations, that you can have a dad with dark skin and a mum with light skin and a kid with whatever skin tone you want, and they do degrade quite nicely to other platforms because they're done as sequences, and I guess that's something that I'd like to see happen on more platforms, that would be quite helpful for other people to support. But as far as I understand it, one key reason that you can support it maybe more easily than other platforms, not to speak for them, but is that your emoji font is kind of clever. It's sort of these layers of vector parts. I don't. You've probably got a better way to phrase that, but you sort of layer the different bits on top of each other, whereas some of the other platforms just render a total image. Maybe you could explain that better than I am.
Yeah, sure. The analogy that I like to use is, so years ago I worked at a skateboard company and designed skateboards, and which actually made the skateboard emoji a lot of fun to work on. But to do screen printing, you have to separate everything into different screens and then print film and burn the screen, so on and so forth. And when we were working on the new emoji font for Windows 10, all of that history in my mind came back. I was like, oh, I could totally do this just like I did the screen separations way back in the day. And it's fairly simple, really. Each color gets its own layer, and within the font there's the color palette that we mentioned, and then there's another table in there that tells, okay, this glyph gets this color, this glyph gets this color, and so we can very efficiently change colors within the font itself.
And that does mean that when you have these thousands and thousands of family combinations, that I suspect you're not there manually making every single family combination. There's something algorithmic, or there's some way that you're managing to layer the people together without you sitting there designing every single one. Is that fair to say?
Correct.
Yeah.
And it's obviously a bit of a bonus.
Open type layout does the positioning.
This is for someone that's not in the font world. That's a specific type of font that maybe differs than the other types of fonts. Is that how that works?
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You can go to Microsoft.com/typography and dig into our spec and learn more than you ever thought was possible about open type tables.
I love it. I'm going to put that in the show notes as well for what a good plug for Microsoft font technology.
Yeah, exactly.
And obviously the emoji set is a good demonstration of that then, right? Because it's in your face. You see it day to day rather than just a dry description of this theoretical thing you can do.
Yeah, there are several color font technologies, and so we sort of extended the open type technology, a few of the existing tables, add some more tables. Again, this is a little bit before me, but I obviously have caught up a bit. And so if you look at the color font spec and the open type layout spec, you can kind of see how they work together.
Yeah, we kind of took it to the next level with the combos, though, because there's a lot of a lot of under the hood font stuff that we were able to do because of the way the layers work. And in a nutshell, there's kind of a dad left and a dad right, and a kid left and a kid right, and mom, and so on and so forth. And that's through that positioning stuff is how we rearrange them all, depending on what combo you put in.
And then presumably, if these red wines, white wines, blue cars, green cars, orange cars come through, in theory, you'd be in a pretty good position to implement that.
Absolutely. It's literally changing the color reference on one line in the font.
Well, don't give people any ideas, or they might start lobbying you for every. Didn't you say how easy it was? And putting aside the user interface and Unicode and all the other things, but at the very minimum, the font spec would enable you to do that. It wouldn't make a giant font file because you can't wear those colors.
Right.
Well, we're just about out of time, so I want to thank you both for joining me. But Judy, if people want to follow you on the internet, can they? And if so, where?
Well, I sort of have quite a distinct separation between my work life and personal life. So they can follow Microsoft Design.
Brilliant. On
Twitter, Facebook, and Medium.
Microsoft, would that be at Microsoft Design on most of these platforms?
Right.
I'll add the links in there. And
Mike, I can help you.
Brilliant. I love that. Mike, and for yourself, can people follow you, or should they also follow Microsoft Design to know more?
I'm on Twitter. I'm at mSyndicateD, so capital M, and then the word syndicate, and the capital D.
mSyndicateD on Twitter if you want to follow Mike. And for me, I would like to thank Jonathan Mann for our theme music, Joshua Jones for the show art, and if you would like to keep up with the show, you can follow it on Twitter at Emoji Wrap. Maybe follow Emojipedia at Emojipedia for more up-to-date emoji news, or you can follow me just posting travel photos at Jeremy Burge. Thank you both for joining me, and I'll speak to everybody else next time. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Yeah, good to be here.